This week on the Compliance Tip of the Day, we're going to take a look at some issues relating to internal controls. It's not something we explore nearly enough, but I know you'll enjoy it. The Compliance Tip of the Day. This is the podcast where we bring you daily insights and practical advice on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of compliance requirements. Whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey, my aim in this podcast is to provide you with a bite-sized, actionable tip to help you stay on top of your compliance game. And now I'd like to say a few words about the latest podcast on the Compliance Podcast Network, AI Today in 5 with 5. Thrilled to announce the inaugural episode of my latest podcast series, AI Today in 5. I wanted to do a short, curated set of stories and news stories about AI for the compliance professional and the greater business professional. You can check it out on Megaphone, the Compliance Podcast Network, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple, or wherever great podcasts are listened to. Check out AI Today in 5. Today we think about and talk about revenue recognition, internal controls, and compliance, and what happens when rules around RevRec are changed, and it impacts not simply compliance, but internal controls. Back in 2014, FASB issued an accounting standards update which changed RevRec for contracts with customers for public entities, certain not-for-profits, and certain employee benefit plans. FASB recognized that the RevRec requirements around GAAP differed from those from the IFRS, and that both sets of requirements needed improvement. This led to a project by FASB and the International Accounting Standards Board to jointly clarify the principles. What this led to was a massive undertaking. Joel Howe said the accounting standard itself is over 700 pages. In the accounting literature, it replaces over 200 pieces. So it's a big deal. Some of the key differences include how information is disclosed beyond data a company might want to be required to release. This could put pressures on auditors to get comfortable with what the company provided to them and which they incorporated into their decision-making process. The reason that all of this is important to the compliance profession and the compliance practitioner is internal controls over financial reporting involving implementing this new standard are critical to the effective use of implementation and how you implement. The SEC has specifically said in several public statements and through their early comment letters that companies must inform the SEC about their accounting policies and how they are changing. Moreover, the SEC has indicated that disclosure is central to a new RevRec standard. Joel Howe once again articulated that when performing a financial audit, an auditor would not rely on a disclosure control from the past. Under the new RevRec, it would require the auditor to go back and figure out if the audit work that they did is tainted and needed to be reviewed or redone. So there's lots of tie-ins here, and this demonstrates the convergence and overlap between the compliance profession, compliance programs, and compliance professionals all going forward. Compliance internal audit controls are required both to detect and prevent. Now they can be used to gather information which will be presented to auditors under a new RevRec standard. This means that should this occur in the future, you'll need to be aware of this, as many professionals are focused on the new rules from auditing. However, if you're a CCO or a compliance professional, you might want to go down the hallway and have a cup of coffee with your CFO and find out what internal controls have changed for your organization and consider how they will impact compliance in your organization. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Number one, what have you done from the compliance perspective for new RevRec standards? 2, if a standard is much more judgment-based, how are you going to incorporate that into your internal controls? And 3, compliance internal controls can now be used to gather information which will be presented to auditors under either the current RevRec standard or one that we may have in the future. So you can see the interrelationship, compliance, internal controls, and RevRec. That I'm happy to do for you, the compliance profession, is if you have a question or a series of questions you would like some compliance tips on, I'm happy to take any requests that you might want, certainly anonymize them, and give you a quick tip, either one quick tip or maybe a week's worth of quick tips. So if you have any tips you want about your compliance program, you can shoot me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This podcast was created and produced